What is happening, shiny, happy people? Zoop here, and I hope you all are doing spectacular. I know I am. Spring is here, new ships are on the horizon, and we've got ranked battles incoming. I'd love to say everything is all sunshine and breezes, but ranked is partly the reason for this video. 7-on-7 Tier 10 battles, with the inclusion of carriers. And therein lies the problem, the inclusion of carriers. Now look, I'm going to level with you. I still think the carrier rework was the right thing to do. I think the spirit and the intent of the rework was well placed. It was necessary. But I'd be a fool to say that it was perfect. Far from it. It's still very much a work in progress, and carriers have no business being in ranked right now. Not at all. While I don't think carriers are broken, there are still some serious issues that need to be rectified before they're ready for ranked gameplay. First, and let me be very clear about this, carriers are not overpowered. I know a lot of players think they are. Yeah, they're a nuisance for some classes, no doubt, but on the whole, they throw up way less damage than the carriers of old, and they have far less capacity to affect the outcome of a round on the whole. Their issue lies, though, in how they mitigate destroyers. Still, it's been months, and there has been no solid relief for destroyers. Carriers need serious tweaks, and I have some suggestions that I feel might help balance them out once and for all. Concealment, anti-aircraft, limited flight time, cyclical attacks, and spotting are 5 tweaks that will help the situation with carriers. The first two, concealment and AA, are in regards to the carriers themselves, while flight time, cyclical attacks, and spotting affect the planes themselves. Concealment is a biggie in my opinion. Carriers are the largest ships in the game, outside of some of the biggest battleships. They are giant floating bricks, flat top and all. They should be spotted from orbit. The first tweak I would implement would be to drastically reduce the concealment of the class. The amount of rounds in which the last surviving ships are carriers is quite frankly ridiculous. I don't ever remember both sides' carriers lasting so long in the pre-rework gameplay. It should not be this way now. It makes the games drag on, and it makes them dull, watching 2 or 4 CVs and a few other ships run out the clock. It's just not fun. Decreasing their concealment will force CV players to think more about where they're going, and it'll force them to react more to an evolving battlefield. CV should never ever be safe, and they should always be on their guard. This tweak would help. This leads us up to the second tweak. Remove carrier AA or drastically reduce it. A CV should not shoot down the most planes in a round. It should be defenseless, or near defenseless. It should rely on the AA of other ships. In real life, battleships screen carriers and use their AA to protect them. It should be similar now. With the current AA, there is absolutely no chance for carriers to strike each other, or at least meaningfully. And that's a problem. Actually, that's a huge problem, and partly why CVs last so long into the endgame. Reducing or removing the AA will make them vulnerable. This is needed. As it is right now, carriers are nigh invincible, which is bad for the gameplay. Those are 2 carrier-related tweaks that'll go a long way towards helping the current issues. The next 3 focus on the planes themselves. They don't focus on damage output. Again, I think that for the most part is fine. First, I think planes need to have a limited flight time. If your carrier's sunk and you have planes in the air, they have a countdown timer. You can't keep them up indefinitely. This should be the case on every sortie. Whether it be a minute, 2 minutes, or whatever, a timer will significantly help destroyers, which are currently the class most punished by carriers. A timer means that planes can't loiter indefinitely, and it forces carrier players to plan and run their attacks diligently. Now that squadrons can conduct multiple attacks, unlike in carrier gameplay prior to the rework, a timer makes logical sense. If a player takes too long to conduct their attack, drop their planes in the ocean or send them back to base. Another tweak that would help destroyers are cyclical attacks. A carrier should not be able to pound the F key and put up another flight of bombers after dropping on a destroyer. There needs to be a better cooldown for attacks. If a carrier uses bombers, they should have to use torpedo planes before using bombers again. Force them to cycle through and use other attacks. This will make destroyers' lives much easier as well. Of course, bombs still punish them. I've suggested in the past slowing down the speed of bomb drops and the height of which the bombs are dropped to allow destroyers to maneuver. In lieu of that, though, the only fix I can think of to help them, again, would involve spotting. I know spotting has been reduced before, but it's still not enough. So either eliminate a CV's ability to spot destroyers altogether, or drop it down to the point a squadron has to be nearly right on top of a destroyer, or, and I think this makes the most sense, make the destroyer spottable only to the aircraft carrier. That, I think, would go a long way in helping destroyers. And by this I mean, if a carrier spots a destroyer, it's only visible to the aircraft carrier, unless, of course, other ships are within the concealment of that destroyer. It's not just that a destroyer is spotted and attacked by a carrier, it's the fact that other ships now know where the destroyer is. If only the CV knows where the destroyer is, it allows the destroyer a little more wiggle room, and it forces the CV to actually communicate that ship's position to the team. This, I feel, would help destroyers the most. Out of all these proposed tweaks, though, I think the easiest to implement and the ones that would have the biggest impact right away are involving the concealment and anti-aircraft capabilities of aircraft carriers. Carriers need not be floating islands of invulnerability. They need to be fragile. They need to be defenseless. They need to be attacked by other carriers. That is where I would start. And I would sit them out of rank for now. It's still too early, and there's still too many issues with them to include them into ranked gameplay. Again, I still enjoy carriers. I still think the move was the right one to make. But I think there's still some issues that need to be addressed, and quickly. I want to know what you all think. How would you fix carriers? And I know some of you might say remove them, but I don't think that's gonna happen, ever. Too much time was spent on the rework. So, realistic ways to fix carriers. I want to know what changes you would make to help the current situation. Let me know in the comments. Anyhow, guys, thanks for watching. Best of luck out there, and I will catch you all later. Zoop out.